7th Planning Commission meeting for the City of Myrtle Beach. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and as I do, I just would like to let everyone know who was not here that Joe Cummings, our new Planning Commissioner, has been sworn in already by Heidi, so he can be part of our meeting. So there is a tweak in the agenda that has already happened. So thank you and welcome. I think everybody met Joe. If not, you can talk to him later. And we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes for September 16th.
Roll call.
Oh, now we have an extra person. We have, I have to go slow though, don't I? Because Zeb's not here yet. Sharon?
Here.
Joe?
Yes. Here.
Austin?
Here.
Danielle?
Here.
Betty Ann?
Here.
Phil?
Here.
And Zeb is not here yet. Okay, thank you, Paul. Then we're going to go for the approval of the minutes for September 16th. I can take a motion, please. Keep it moving.
Motion to approve as presented.
I have a motion from Austin.
Second.
Second, the small voices. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we're moving on to the matters of business. Item D1, Pre-Fin 25-03, Marina Village Tract North. Kelly, please.
This is a request from GD Marina LLC Cameron Parker to subdivide approximately 22.62 acres adjacent to Marina Parkway near 79th Avenue North, zoned Grand Dune HUD, into 86 parcels ranging in size from 8,465 square feet to 6,152 square feet with 3 new private streets. Here is our location map and our GIS aerial view map. The proposed subdivision plat of 86 parcels with that square foot ranging from 6,152 square feet to 8,465 square feet. And finally, our illustrated rendering for the subdivision. I'm happy to answer any questions. Our applicant is also in the room with us.
Okay, Kelly, so we have a better view of the ingress and the egress now.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay, thank you very much. And commissioners, what questions do you have for Kelly?
What did the email say that got received?
The one now?
The email.
The
One
email
email.
was
I
a,
don't remember seeing that. We get it. I don't know.
One
She was
email and one call.
she was just a news reporter. She just wanted to know more about what was going on.
Very good.
Not for or against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Tanisha, would you, just one second, Kelly, would you tell everybody why or why not this is a public hearing or not a public hearing? We're going to do that so new people can get accustomed to why we're doing something.
No, yes, of course. So for subdivisions, they are isn't required to have. So right here, for subdivisions, public comment isn't required because no law or regulations are being changed. It's just making sure it's conforms to compliance. So that is, so for the text amendment, which is the next one, it's going to be the zoning code change, so that requires by law public input.
So we're going to review little things like that along the way to help everybody, new people, okay? Okay, back to Kelly. I'm sorry, Kelly. Any questions, Commissioner? Okay, and we're going to go to Mr. Parker. Would you like to comment on anything?
Cameron Parker with Development Resource Group. Just wanted to note that we brought before you this conceptual rendering to more clearly illustrate the project. And so I'm just here to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Mr. Parker, would you mind restating from our last meeting about the trail, the waterway multi-purpose trail, and how long it is? So once again, so new people can understand what this is.
So as an amenity to this site, as well as the previous phase, the existing Del Webb, There's a 2.1 mile trail that has been constructed along the Intercoastal Waterway. It actually has been completed with the previous phase, and so it's a great amenity that all of these projects will be able to utilize.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioners, what questions do you have for Mr. Parker, please? I have a couple, but if you have something, please ask them now. Yes, Phil, go ahead.
Just for information purposes, the interior road, I guess you call it a rectangular interior road. What type of trees are generally planted there?
The street trees, you mean?
Hmm?
The street
Street,
trees
yeah.
will just be a variety of maples, oaks, and we'll work with the landscape and zoning department on an appropriate mix.
Right. Since we moved hardwood type trees.
That's right.
Thank you.
I think the Joshua Green's put.
Okay, any other questions, Commissioners? Mr. Parker, can you tell me about the remaining portion of the parcel 2 has changed from 5.89 acres to 4.09 acres to accommodate a landscape? Why has that truncated?
So if you notice, there is the addition of the right-of-way. So you'll have the 1.03 acre parcel that is bound by Marina Parkway and the new access road, and then the remainder, which is the smaller parcel, 4.09 acres. It just was bifurcated by the new right-of-way.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'm trying to ask questions of things that you may or may not already know. So if you have other things, let's get them on the floor so we can ask Mr. Parker while he's here.
Kim, so what's the acreage on the portion of the remainder property that's between Marina Parkway and the primary entrance road?
1.03.
1.3.
And it's very unlikely that that would be able to be utilized for anything. It's a very steeply sloped grade as it stands today.
Should that not be maybe common area for this development, or?
I wouldn't want to offer that for this development because it's not part of the contractual obligation that the seller is using.
That field's kind of used whenever they hold events. Isn't that the one next to the marina where they kind of hold events sometimes?
The one that Zeb's referring to is the one in between Marina Parkway and the access
Oh,
road.
okay.
But yes, you're correct. The other one would host those events.
It's just, that ends up being a potential kind of halfway abandoned parcel that, because it's not really feasible to do much with it. Although maybe parking, but I don't know, it's sloped really hard.
Yeah, it's very steeply sloped. We have looked at, potential use, but it's very unlikely. Just difficult to manage.
This is a gated area.
It will be a private community, gated, yes.
Commissioners, you're very quiet today, so everybody must be okay.
Review one more time the emergency access. Y'all have something in place that allows y'all to utilize that.
Yes, since this is a gated community, both access points would be Knox box gates or remotely accessed like the others in the Grand Names neighborhoods from the main security office. They would just be able to drive right through them with emergency services vehicles.
So the phase 1 on the left side of the power line right away, that's not gated right now?
Correct.
So do the residents have access to get in the emergency, the south entrance?
No,
So
it's
only
strictly,
emergency.
yeah, it's strictly for emergency traffic.
Kim, I don't know if you can answer this or maybe Kelly. So there's a point to consider about the sewer easement pump station. Is that going to affect anything?
The pump station is in the parcel that Zeb referred to, the 1.03 acre parcel,
Okay.
and it isn't impacted by this project.
Okay, Commissioners, if there's not anything else, thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you.
come back to the table and let's have any final thoughts? If not, let's have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Austin and a second from Paul. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you all.
See you next time. All right, moving on to text 25-04, 21st Avenue, the Shelby. Aisha, please.
This is a request from Gregory D. Duckworth Environmental Concepts, LLC, to amend the 21st Avenue North PUD Division 3 to modify lots, designs, and uses of Sandcastle PUD, the Shelby. Here we have the site location showing the boundary lines of the 21st Avenue Oceanfront PUD Division 3. In green, you can see the totality of the 21st Avenue North Oceanfront PUD, and on the south you see the portion that we're talking, which is the Division 3 Sandcastle. Here we have the aerial view showing the Division 3 between 18th Avenue North and 19th Avenue North. Here is a brief overview of the Sandcastle as it stands today. It was approved in 2006 with a total area of 3.5 acres, consistent of 12 lots. It will consist of 724 condominium units, restaurant facilities, parking structures, and related amenities. It will be constructed in 4 phases, and below you can see the dimensional requirements. You can see at the bottom the render of what it will look like. Here we have the master plan showing the 4 different phases of the construction. As of today, none of the phases have been constructed. Here we have the amendments to the PUD, and the applicant is requesting to change the name the Sandcastle to the Shelby, as it's going to become a pickleball-focused destination. The total areas will remain the same. The applicant is requesting to add racket sports as an interim accessory use for the guests of the Shelby. It would include an outdoor pickleball court with a 10-foot tall black chain link sports fence. It would include a 16,000 square foot clubhouse on the 3rd row. And on the 2nd row, it would include a pedestrian greenway connecting oceanfront to 3rd row. And for the interim accessory use, the parking requirements would be a 1 space per 1 bedroom, and the dimensional requirements are not changing. Here we have Exhibit 1 showing the information map of the text changes. On the oceanfront, you can see the location of the multi-purpose lawn. On the 2nd row, you can see the pedestrian connection. And on the 3rd row, you can see the location of the pickleball courts and the clubhouse/pool. Here we have a more zoomed in version of the oceanfront showing the multi-purpose lawns, and you can see some photos at the bottom of what the lawns currently are. Here we have the 2nd row showing the lighted pedestrian walkway connecting the oceanfront to the 3rd row. And then here we have the 3rd row site plan showing the location of the pickleball courts and the clubhouse. Here, the applicant has provided a tree survey for the 3rd row where the pickleball courts and the clubhouse are, showing 6 protected trees. It has been reviewed by our zoning officer, and these are his notes. And then here we have a zoning comparison summary of the 21st Avenue North PUD and the underlying zone, which is MUH. Here, just into that. And here we have certain the site conditions of what the current site looks like right now. Here we have some slides that the applicant can discuss in further detail of the national and international recognition that the Shelby has received. And we have some clubhouse imagery renders of what the clubhouse will look like. And we have some pickleball imagery of what the pickleball clubhouse area will look like with a render. And then we have our section 403, which is our findings of facts.
Can you go back one to the pickleball court?
Is there indoor pickleball or just outdoor?
And there will be out indoor as well.
In that building with the pool?
I believe the applicant can discuss more about the rendering.
Yeah, that's why I went back. I have questions too. Okay.
Looks great.
There seems to be a lot more landscaping than I promised, but let's see. What, anything else?
No, if you have any questions, here to answer.
Okay.
Applicant, let's see.
Commissioners, let's start asking Aisha all the questions that you have, since I'm certain there are many.
Are there any changes to the current ordinance? Or they are requesting any exceptions?
They're requesting to add in brackets for us as an interim accessory use.
Okay.
Would that be similar to, like the putt-putt by Magnolias? At
Yes.
Anderson Inn?
Yes, that was the putt-putt at Magnolia's. There was supposed to be a high-rise hotel
Yeah.
on that site. The numbers just weren't lining up for the developer. And so that was kind of the same approach here. We didn't take anything away from the PUD, we just added something to it on an intermittent kind of schedule. So once they decide to go back in and construct that tower, putt-putt's something that can easily be taken care of, not the big foundations, all of that type of stuff to worry about. So yes, that is a perfect example of what they're proposing to do here. It's almost serves as a placeholder
Right.
until such time as they're ready for construction of the high-rise.
So that's my question is that, I mean, is it still relevant now that we still have this phase development that doesn't look like it's gonna happen anytime soon, or? I mean,
What does
Other
interim
ownership.
mean?
yeah, I mean,
What does interim mean?
There's other
Until-
ownerships involved in the property.
Say that again, please.
There's other ownerships involved in the
Right.
property.
Intermittent means until such time as they decide to do something else. Whether it's come back in here for a PUD amendment to put a different type of tower or a different type of use altogether, or whether it's to come in here and actually propose to build the 240-foot and the 200-foot towers as currently shown in the PUD.
So if we approve this and 15 years later, somebody else new comes in, they can knock all this down and put what was originally proposed?
Yes. If you go back to the slide where you show the proposed PUD as it is today. Right here. So, right here, we're sitting, looking at a high-rise tower here, then a high-rise tower here, looking at the parking deck.
Yeah.
Right on the back. That is still going to be a viable if this property were, if somebody came in and bought all this property tomorrow, and that's what they wanted to do, that option still exists to them without having to come back here before y'all. Flip back one more slide. Go, I'm sorry, the other way. You're sitting here on this is what's proposed. This is straight from the 21st Avenue PUD. This is what's proposed. This is what's currently sitting on the ground. None of this is going away. They're just gonna take the parking lots and put the pickleball courts where one of the parking lots is, and then they're gonna come back here, they're gonna build the clubhouse and all this other type stuff. So as originally approved, that option still exists. This is just, like I said, it's a placeholder. Cost of construction being what it is right now with this owner is too much for him to assume. You're kind of at the point that we let it sit there and keep on looking the way it does until such time as somebody does decide to build that, or you go this intermittent option.
So this is just going to be a pickleball destination, is what basically we're looking at right now.
Or it's going to be allowing pickleball as an accessory use
Right.
within the PUD.
Which, that's
Or
one
racket
of, that's
sports.
one of the challenges, that's one of the challenges we had the last time we met, that it could be sold off as a separate entity. Now it's an accessory use.
So it cannot be cut up at all,
It
now it's
cannot,
gotta be done.
if he wanted to come back and operate that as an independent freestanding pickleball facility, he would have to come back in and make an amendment to the PUD, because as an accessory use, it has to be tied to the hotel. Yes, ma'am.
I guess that's thank you, that's what I was trying to get
Yes,
to.
ma'am.
I know that we've come to, the word interim to me for 15 or 20 or 30, that's challenging for me, but let's move on.
Ken, so I'm looking at the original ordinance, and, you know, and the original changes that were presented to us at the last meeting called for the removal of the phases. You know that it was the different phases were taken out. And now the new ordinance, proposed ordinance, keeps these phases in, and like you said, it keeps the.
Yes, like I said, even though this is not what they're acting on right now, that still remains as a viable option for this PUD.
And I guess my question is that, I mean, is there a timeline normally for, under the PUD ordinances that they build out these improvements, or?
Yes, sir, but that ship sailed on every PUD we got in the city of Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I know. And I guess my question is, I mean, 15 years from now, what's been approved here might not really be what would want to be approved. I mean, you know, circumstances change and all that kind of stuff. It might not be in line with with kind of the comprehensive plan that's in place at that time. So I guess it seems like to me that, you know, if there's no intention of building these phases at the present time, then I would think that we want to revert back to MUH zoning or keep the PUD in place, underlying zoning is MUH, and have this accessory use for a pickleball court.
Flip slides. Get the one, okay, it's a good one. Everything that you see kind of in the bolder print is what's owned by one individual. The lot here and the lot here are owned by two different individuals. They have a right to speak in regard to this matter. So what we're doing by what we're proposing with this being the intermittent or the temporary or the placeholder, whatever you want to refer to it as, is we are not taking away any rights from these people by doing so.
But those people, do they have rights anyway? Because they can't build their phase two without ownership of both those parcels.
They might not have rights, but they have options.
Because that option provides a land value.
They have options. They have options to, one person might come in here and say, I want to do it the way Ho was. He wants to buy up everything all as one, which therefore drives up the value of these properties. So we've got to hit the slippery slope to make sure that not only are we not giving an advantage to someone, we're not putting someone in a disadvantage either.
So does this amendment extend out the construction schedule?
No, sir. And I'm sure that'll be a topic brought up at the city council meeting. It always is whenever we come back in with a new PUD.
So if I'm hearing right, there's not a plan to, if this was approved, to start the pickleball court club?
There's not what now?
A plan to start that club immediately. It's just a...
No. If this gets approved, that's what they're here for. If this gets approved, along with the other improvements that they've already done to the hotel, and we're currently working with them on doing some more. This would just be one more thing that they would update the permit and add this to it as well.
So if we approve this, they would begin construction on pickleball courts and so on, like
I sure hope so, because I've probably spent about 15 hours the last month with Greg Duckworth discussing all this stuff. So I feel pretty sure that they're serious about what they're trying to do.
We can ask what the timeline is, Paul, so we'll ask when we get to Mr. Duckworth and see what the, not just the intent, but the absolute plan. The intent is different.
The ordinance is saying it has to be built out and closed out in 5 years with the option to extend an additional 5 years. I guess that's what y'all kind of negotiated.
For pickleball court,
For pickleball courts.
5 years
5 plus 5.
for a pickleball court,
Otherwise, it reverts back to the original zoning.
5 years.
5 plus 5, so they have an option to go 10 years.
Exactly. Okay.
just the pickleball court has that?
Yes.
I mean, we're amending a PUD that we know is not, you know, the schedule, is it realistic anymore? That's what worries me is that we're amending a PUD that is not viable at this point.
You can amend the schedule. I mean, the way I looked at this from a staff standpoint, you got three options. First option, they've already done the work that they've done to the building, and we're gonna leave it like it is. Everything else around it's gonna stay like it is. Second option, you've got this placeholder approach to where you come in with the pickleball courts. Third option is it is developed as it was initially shown in the plans. As far as the timeline goes on that, that's where you're gonna hear some of my least favorite words, but they always ring true. Market-driven and economy. So to put a timeline on exactly when are you gonna do this, I think there's too many X factors that factor in regard to it. I can pretty much assure you if somebody came around here and offered the fair market value for that piece of property to want to build it out all the way, I am pretty sure that the property owner would entertain that in the process.
I mean, that's the concern I have is, I mean, we've got vested rights here, and we're doing an amendment that implies that these vested rights will continue. And I don't know how long you want vested rights to be out there. I mean,
Well, the vested rights right there, right now, for as long as the PUD's still in place.
yeah, I know, but they didn't adhere to the construction schedule at this point. So, I mean,
There's not a PUD that has come before you for any type of amendment for as long as I've been here with the city of Myrtle Beach, and that's 19 years, that has adhered to their development schedule. The only ones that adhere to the development schedule are the few smaller ones that at that time were built and closed out at the time of construction. You know, this is a phase of a PUD that came in 2006, which is 19 years ago. You've also got, this PUD was actually in effect like in 1999, the whole thing. And so I see the point that you're making. It's a legitimate point, but you know, you've got, like I said, you've got basically two ways to address it right now. You leave it just like it is right now, or you allow them to come in here with the pickleball courts, and we wait to see, and we wait until somebody's gonna come in here and do a bigger development where you're talking about some demolition rebuild.
You're also looking at second, third rail activity, which is few and far between.
Which we
in the
need.
city limits.
Which is something we don't have right now. I mean, it was,
The challenge, of course.
it passes the smell test.
The challenge is the time. That's up to 10 years to build these pickleball courts.
Well, then you could, then I think,
That's a challenge.
I think if Greg was here, I don't
We're
think
gonna
that,
step down for a second, we'll be right back.
I don't think that we would have, that there would be much of an issue to changing that to 2 years. You
I
got
mean, if we want to see activity, if that is, you know,
Then we need
the
to
point to
do it.
get to the second or third row, then it needs to happen.
Well, then to me, that could be a minor change from that 5 year to 5 years. You could go 2 year. Or you could go 1 year. I mean, I'd have to see what Greg said the development
How long,
schedule
Charles,
is.
how long did it take to make the pickleball courts on 20th Avenue South?
It's not how long it takes to make the
It's
pickleball.
just a brief time to construct something like a pickleball court compared to a, you know, multi-tower condominium unit. So anyway, that's just one of many issues. So let's move on. What other questions?
Well, was that all the changes from the ordinance? So their setbacks is remaining as the ordinance currently is? They're no longer asking for 5 foot.
They're not,
back to
we're not truncating those.
Which is what I understood from what I read. I just want to make sure. I
And what about the parking?
Parking is still 1 space per 1 bedroom. That's the change.
That's the change. That's another challenge. Okay, let's keep going.
But that
What
could be
else?
placed with the placeholder just for this change. And then if And then once it gets developed in accordance as the PUD goes, you're gonna fall back to the underlying parking requirements that are already in place. So that's not changing across the board, that's just changing in conjunction, in connection with the racquetball, with the racket sports placeholder.
So, if 5 years from now, somebody comes in and decides they want to proceed with the plan that was originally approved with this ordinance, I mean, do we have all of the plans that were submitted at that time? They'd have to follow those plans or seek an amendment to the ordinance, right?
Not really have to follow those plans, they have to follow the verbiage. It doesn't have to look exactly like it does, but what it does, it gives them the right to build 240 feet and the 200 feet. Again, those are more conceptual renderings, not necessarily exact design.
How does the reducing it to one parking space, how does an attachment to this accessory of the pickleball, what is putting that demand for that?
Granted demand for what?
Why are we attaching it to the accessory? Wouldn't it be part of the PUD itself?
If it were a primary, it would have its own parking requirements. If
When I
it's
say-
accessory to the hotel, then you're required to be part of that hotel.
No,
So you're saying
what I was
parking
saying,
for the club,
if you approve what's before us here today, okay, everything that is currently existing on that property, room-wise, would now be figured at a one space per one room parking ratio. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when someone decides to come in here and build the high rise on the ocean front and the high rise on the second row, they will meet the parking standards that are currently in place in connection with the 240-foot tower on the ocean front and the 200-foot tower on the second row. And the parking would not be the 1-to-1, it would go back to the 1.15 per one bedroom, and then suites and super suites.
yes, I guess the applicant will answer why they need to go to one space per bedroom. Because they currently are meeting the ordinance, they wouldn't be able to do what they're doing.
They're having to go to the 1-to-1 space because one of the pickleball courts, I think, replaced some parking spaces, they picked some more up somewhere else, so it's not really a substantial loss of parking, so to speak, it's that, but there is some loss in the parking.
The last submission said they're gonna add 16 spaces to the city. Why weren't they using those that they were gonna add for this?
They can't because they're on right of way. You can't, it has to be on premise parking for you to get credit for it. I mean, you look right here, we got 238 original spaces, 246 total spaces, 241 total rooms. So they picked up 2 spaces on their own, and then you've got the 16 for the in the right of way additional parking.
So they're wanting to go to one because the pickleball court's gonna take up, then, I got you, the space for that.
Yes, sir.
Has existence, so
What-
they have to, we're trading.
What's the parking requirement for a hotel under MUH?
Well, one bedroom is one space.
There's one space.
Yeah.
And so these are all
Efficiency.
efficiencies, so they're meeting the current parking requirement anyway, right?
They're in line with the MUH zoning as far as the parking requirements go. That would probably been a good point to make from the beginning. But
Okay.
apologize for that.
When we last met, there was no real room for landscaping, but one of these slides that you had up there looked very
Go to the slide.
plush compared to what we were told before, so can we review that?
Would you like to have
Because
Mr.
there was not enough room to have landscaping before.
I think
So what's changed?
that's the applicant question.
So what's changed? Okay, so if everybody's finished with staff, I'd like to bring up Mr. Duckworth. Mr. Duckworth, are you ready to talk to us, please?
Always. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here. So can you answer that question about the landscaping that you told us there could be none? Now this looks like has been added, so could you guide us on the answer for that?
Well, first, point of clarity, I don't believe I ever told the commission that there wasn't going to be any landscaping. Part of what was in the original PUD amendment documentation just clarified what would be on the public lands. For example, out in the public right-of-way where we'd be putting street trees, for example. Okay? So part of what was delineated in the text was that. And that might be where in lies part of the confusion. In terms of the landscaping, there is enough room on the site in and around not only the pickleball courts, but also the pickleball club and swimming pool area to have a nice, attractive perimeter landscape, a nice, attractive internal landscape, even landscaping along let me just see here, along the pedestrian spine here as well. There's room for landscaping to make it an attractive experience for the users. So there's also
What's the circles on the left, far left, on the other side of the street?
here or here.
There.
These here that are half-toned gray with just an open circle on the inside represent existing trees. So these are existing trees that are on the street or just adjacent to it, maybe not right in the street. And then these are existing trees in and around the property too that we're going to take effort to preserve as part of the interim development. Now, the other thing I will point out is all those trees here will be vaporized when the massive parking structure is built for the currently entitled PUD as it is.
Vaporized.
That's just another way of saying they'll be level. They won't
Yes,
be
I understand that. I thought that was an interesting, colorful way to say that.
trying to be colorful.
But you're basically, I know this is a conceptual, but you basically are proposing all those with the circle and the green in them are trees you are going to basically add to the,
These would be in the public benefit, these trees here, as part of the streetscaping.
go around the sidewalk. Where are all the sidewalks at?
Okay. If you don't mind, could we go back to the second row slide for a second? There, that's perfect. I want to start here just because I know there's several members of the planning commission that weren't here on the first go around. If we could, maybe even go to the first slide. I just want to orient you. Here's the main tower, and then the south and the north towers for the Shelby. And presently, kind of more or less on center line of where the sign is that says the Shelby, there, now you can go to the next slide. There's this safe haven island where the pedestrians can walk from that front of the Shelby across Ocean Boulevard. So that lines up really nice with this existing green space that's on the property, and we were going to create kind of a nice serpentine pedestrian connection between Ocean Front and then Third Row. And so that third row comes across about right here, and then there's a little jog, and then you can come across this way and either access the pickleball club adjacent the parking garage, or you can come this way and go along this way and come up and access the pickleball club that way. So there's two ways to get into it from the ocean front. Frankly, there's really even three ways. You can come along this side of the parking garage too and come in this way. So there's this nice kind of pedestrian spine that runs right down the middle of it. There was a question earlier about, well, there's indoor and outdoor pickleball. Yes, correct. These pickleball courts here would be outdoor pickleball, and then these here would be indoor pickleball in the sense that they would have a metal building type roof over it that then would have the sides that could be rolled down almost like an isinglass or plastic for inclement weather. Other things I can point out on the site plan, and Ken touched on it earlier, there are proposed 16 public benefit parking spaces in the right-of-way. There are 4 here, then there's a driveway curb cut, there's 2 more here, and then we have 2, 4, 6 more there. And then on this side we've got 4 more, and then a transit stop with a bus shelter here. So that would be a portion of the public benefit. In addition to that, you would of course then have the sidewalks and the street trees that would be in that.
Show where all the sidewalks are if you want.
Okay, so you have a sidewalk here, basically goes clear around the perimeter, and then it goes along here. Of course, this is what used to be called the Tar Heel Hotel. Now it's called Finn's Inn. It's part of the PUD, so that's part of one of the properties that's driving the fact that the entitlement must remain for the PUD, because if we were to not do that, it would be a taking of land. That this and the Tower Motel down here would be basically taking away their opportunity to have the entitlement that they agreed to. The sidewalk then can continue up this way. There's also a sidewalk on this side of the street. Of course, we mentioned this one here that runs up through here, the one through the middle. This is kind of a quasi sidewalk slash seating area in the middle here. I think that covers
Mr. Duckworth, how wide are the sidewalks, please?
These sidewalks here are either 5 or 6 feet. I have to check my notes, but that's how wide these are. This one here is wider down the pedestrian spine. Sorry, it varies in width depending on whether we have a bench seating there or if we're meandering around one of the existing trees, but it varies in width from 5 feet to 12 feet or beyond in this area here.
So you're basically going to tear up the current sidewalks and do a 5 feet instead of a 3-foot sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duckworth, how do the people who are in the Shelby access the pickleball courts?
Well,
I mean, are you a card holder? I mean, is there a gatekeeper, a manager on site? What happens there? I mean, can other people walk onto the property and play?
other people cannot. It would be similar to their swimming pool on the ocean front. The guests would be the guests of the Shelby only, so there would be a card holder. The room key would have a magnetic proximity card, like most of all rooms do now, and that would allow you access into the space, and there would be a gate.
So it wouldn't be monitored, I mean, because...
No, there would still be monitoring, because the pickleball itself club will have staff there to
So
provide
you'd have to
services.
schedule your playing time?
Yes, yes. Now, I'm not saying you would absolutely have to schedule your playing time. There might be times during different seasons where you might be able to just, do a pickup game over there and not have to necessarily schedule. Yes, sir.
So this is not public, this is strictly a private club system that you're setting up?
Yes, and it's important to note that, because one of the biggest concerns that everybody in this room has, and frankly beyond, is, well, what if the developer wants to start making this a public use facility? Well, the reality is they simply don't have the ability to do that, because I tell my clients this all the time. Parking is the great equalizer. Without parking, you can't do that. And frankly, because this is an accessory use for the guests of the Shelby only, it's not really adding to the parking burden of the property that's there today.
Right, go ahead.
The sidewalks, the existing sidewalks that are on Willows Drive, those are not going to be redone, or will they be redone?
Only if they get destroyed. Like, for example, this one here, I think is new, possibly, because we're gonna do some damage when we redo these two parking lots here, which contribute to the parking count, these two. But unless it's an absolute necessity, we're not gonna just go pave the universe, but everywhere where it makes absolute sense, we will. All these would be new, of course, adjacent to these new parking spaces. Both sides of the street here would also be new. The pedestrian connection between Ocean Boulevard and third row, that second row section would all be brand new too.
I mean, would the developer have much objection? Because I think it would improve the development itself as well, but to maybe add some landscaping in the public right of way around those existing sidewalks? Because When you look at an aerial right now, there's nothing there.
If you look at the aerial, there isn't, but if you look at like real-time, real-world images of what's out there today, all this has just been freshly landscaped and looks pretty darn lush now.
I'm talking about within the right of way.
Well, that's something that, it's been my experience that the city discourages planting in the right of way because of site triangles. Now, certainly, we could entertain some maybe key areas that might be able to be landscaped in the public right of way, but we would have to do it in such a way that we're not impacting site triangles and safety.
But you've got the site triangles on the land plan right now, don't you?
I understand
Well,
that.
the only landscaping that you normally see in the right-of-ways on the boulevard now is just trees. There used to be some monkey grass in spots, but most of the landscaping that you see that appears to be on the right-of-way in some of the areas, especially on the boulevard, that's all contained within private property.
There's a white box right here, and essentially what's in there is utilities. I honestly don't know what it is. Maybe it's a lift station and maybe some transformers. This is not very attractive. I could see where the developer wouldn't be opposed to maybe putting in some planting material around this to kind of soften that.
I mean, I think that'd be great. I mean, there's an opportunity now to get your site plan approved, to maybe get approval for some landscaping within the public right of way, which I think would be an improvement for everybody.
And there will absolutely be street trees and turf grass too. So there's going to be a layering effect. Not only the plants that you're seeing here proposed, but the ones up against the foundations of not only the existing parking garage now, but the pickleball courts here, the pickleball club. You're going to have a layered effect. So you're going to have the grass, physical grass. Of course, in front of that, you're going to have the sidewalk. So you're going to have this layered effect of the sidewalk, the grass, the ground covers, the shrubs, the trees. So it's going to have a nice layering up effect. So we're definitely not neglecting plant material along these edges.
Yeah, I'm really kind of focusing on Withers Drive because you've got such a big public right of way there where you've got those kind of like all around here, these existing sidewalks there, which are, most of this is just kind of barren right now.
But it looks good because it's a nice kind of lawn area leading up to the landscaping that's there.
So there's grass there.
Anything in the right-of-way would be something that we would have to discuss with Public Works and with Parks and Recreation in regard to any type of plantings within the right-of-way. We'd have to get their sign-off on anything.
But I would think that the developer would be amenable to putting some beautification in those areas. I wouldn't say that we should let that be the deal that broke the project. You know what I mean? If it would make it more satisfactory to you all as a commission to put some beautification there. Yes, sir.
Is this going to be a nighttime and daytime facility?
Yes.
Can you give us a little idea about the lighting on the outer sidewalks on the inner, what the plans are for that?
Yes, for the pedestrian ways, we're going to be using low voltage path lighting, so it'll be low level lighting. The lighting for the pickleball courts themselves would be a pickleball specific light that has, I guess if you can envision it, it's like a box shaped fixture up on the pole, and it will shine down into the play area, but it's designed with the cutoffs. So it's not going to bleed over into the perimeter areas, and that's a very important part of most any pickleball facility.
And
nowadays.
that's part of our ordinances too, that you
It
can,
is.
so.
Actually, I'd originally worded it that way, but we needed to put a little more detail in there, and I actually, if it was appropriate, I could show you an example cut sheet of what that light would look like. So.
What's in the surrounding area there? I mean, because pickleball is noisy.
It is. Right
It's
here.
very noisy, actually.
It is. Right here, you've got, of course, the fens and.
Yes, and have you talked with FinCEN about what's occurring, and what's the setback between FinCEN and the pickleball court? What's the setback?
The fence goes right up to the property line on the fence inside. That's the only way you can fit the project in, is to have the property line.
So there is no landscaping for the fins in?
I guess the question is, does the building run all the way to the property line? Is the
No, it
fence
does
in-
not. Fins in, I think there's another map that maybe shows a little more clearly. There you go. There's the fins in.
I can give
Oops.
an aerial view.
That aerial view is kind of flattened, but maybe that one map that had kind of the footprint. There you go. That one's probably okay. Here's the fins in. Basically, just for context, this is an old mom and pop motel. Everything is focused forwards on these units, everything. There's an old swimming pool out front. All the parking is pull in, nose in parking, which is non-compliant today, but it was back when it was built, so that's okay. So again, one of the things about this property and the towers is to be aware that it is part of the PUD. And so we're doing our best to keep that in mind, but at the same time, you know, focus the elements, you know, of beautification on the outer parts of the PUD, if you will.
There are no doorways on that fins in that open up to the backside of that building.
No,
It truly is, like you said, it's an old school hotel,
So, I mean,
everything
you
forward
could you
facing.
pull a car back there? I mean, do they drive back there?
Uh-uh.
I mean, I can't tell if
No,
that's 5 or
it's
8
really not.
feet or what, I can't tell.
Well, it doesn't have a parking lot back there, if that's what you mean.
There's no access to the back of that building from the backside. All the accesses are through the front.
Currently, the parcel that we're talking about is a parking lot that faces it.
Right, yes.
This is, as the current development that was built, this is a third row parking lot, which frankly, they had to renovate it because that was part of the requirement when they renovated the motel, the oceanfront motel, and made it look nice. But it's basically a parking lot with tumbleweeds in it. No one uses it.
Sorry.
It's a beautiful one now.
Yeah,
It's been renovated. It's been landscaped.
it's the best non-used looking parking lot on the in the boulevard area.
It doesn't get used. It won't get used. No one uses it.
Okay, so can we, is everybody, you have more questions
Just
about the
one.
pickleball area?
Well, I guess mine goes back to the timeline. I know we've seen stuff we've approved in the past that it's taken years for a developer to get going. I'm just curious about the timeline, if approved.
Well, when we start summing everything up, we're going to cover that, that's for sure, Paul. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything to say about the pickleball court area and the club?
I
I want to
ask
move
him,
on.
if they're intending to do this, are you objected to reducing the construction time allowances?
I'm not. These were just suggestive timelines
Okay.
that were put in there and not necessarily absolutes.
Okay, are there any more questions about that parcel, the pickleball court area? Because I want to move forward. Okay, let's move forward, if no one else had, to the Towers Motel area. Is there a better picture of that? Is that it?
Of the tower.
Of the little, you can stay on there. Does anybody have any okay, that's the ocean front. We can stay there, that's fine.
About the Shelby Tower?
Yeah, we can stay right there, that's fine. Does anybody have any comments on this? Because I have a couple questions. Does anybody want to discuss this area? Yes, Phil, please.
You still propose to put portable net stuff around the,
If necessary during play. But they, again, you can see they're literally portable. The net would be portable in a little handheld device there. And the perimeter nets would be too.
Charles, is that, just because they have a pickleball accessory use, they just, can a motel right now that had that as a use could decide to put it in the area they want to?
They don't get a volleyball net, it's on their property.
And volleyball, you know, as long as it's on the property, they can put anything on the property.
It's
they want to.
temporary use. Yeah.
Okay.
Within reason,
I got you.
you know, within
I
reason.
understand. We're talking about within reason.
How big is that area in it's not the size of a pickleball
It's
court.
just the size of a pickleball court.
It's the exact size of
Well,
a
it's a
pickleball.
little bit less, frankly, and like I'd said in our first meeting that we had together, the developer wanted to literally
That was
uncover.
important to them, yeah.
They wanted to build pickleball courts in this area here where there's clearly an emergency vehicle access. And he just wanted to build them. I was like, you can't do that.
You want this to be, and my question has to do with the multi-purpose lawn, is what I'll refer to it.
Please.
And, I mean, you are wanting to have an upscale pickleball court destination,
And that's what Third Row represents.
a world class. So when we talk about this front multi-purpose lawn, is it going to be a lawn or is it going to be astroturf or carpet?
It's going to be an artificial turf space on the north and south towers. Now, follow me here. Some of you weren't here for our first meeting, so I'll try to paint a little of the character of this developer, if you will. He's out of Hollywood, California, and he just, you know, he's inspired. And I want to follow that up here in a minute. But he's really excited about the pickleball club. He's willing to invest not a small sum of money on Third Row to make that happen, but he feels like, you know, in his mind, in his vision, the perfect oceanfront facility would have pickleball there too. And I've told him, until I'm literally blue as this coat in my face, that you can't play pickleball on the oceanfront. It's too darn windy, you know. But let him figure that out for himself, you know. The nice thing is that regardless if you can or cannot play pickleball there, it's going to be a great spot to do other things like you've got in these images, because they're already doing them. You know, playing cornhole, having a picnic, you know, having a little kind of lounge area where they can chill out on the ocean front. Maybe it's a pre-function space for a conference or maybe a wedding. Who knows what happens there? But let the kid have the chance to go out there and whack the ball with the pickleball and figure out for himself that it ain't gonna fly, you know?
Charles, can I ask a question? Well, first of all, I didn't know that you could play pickleball on AstroTurf, but,
Yes, we've researched that.
okay. Are there a lot of condos along the beach that have AstroTurf in their front yard? Are there any? I mean, because
There's some, I would say.
to me, grass is beautiful.
Yeah, we've heard
Grass
some
is
of it.
beautiful.
It just depends on the hotel and what type of surface they're using. But yeah, there's other ones.
I would say there's a lot, I would say there's a lot, but I would say there's probably more than you expect.
Yeah, I just think world class, and that, it should be the best. I don't know that
I mean, you've got some that are on Second Road that have the AstroTurf in there around there, where it would be like a regular yard grass. And I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of it myself, but you don't realize, if you're just riding by, you don't realize it's turf. It just looks like green grass.
Other than the winter.
Yeah. Other than the wintertime, there's only green grass around.
Well, they change it out and they put brown in there. Change
Well,
it out.
you do have ryegrass that grows green in the winter, and a lot of golf courses overseed with it. So it's kind of not a completely ubiquitous scene here in the Grand Strand, but it is not unusual to see. The other thing about the multi-purpose lawn on the ocean front is because they will and do get a high level of use, they're already starting to show signs of foot traffic. So the artificial turf solution long-term would be the right thing for this particular establishment. And I hear what you're saying about, and using the term astroturf, because that sounds negative to me. But anyway, artificial turf, there's a lot of them on the market. They're quite nice today. And frankly, unless you get right down in there and try to touch it, the thatch in it makes it look pretty darn real. Pretty good quality stuff.
Okay, so we'll move on from that. So you can play pickleball on artificial surface.
Not every artificial turf. It has to be a certain
On
artificial
the ones
turf.
that you're going to choose, so that's,
Yes, ma'am.
so there's not going to be a noise factor except for the racket that they have in their hand. That would be I'm always concerned about noise. Is that an issue, Charles, as far as you're concerned for neighbors?
Let me tell you a story about that. I went down on the ocean about 14 years ago. People was, whenever they were trying to get jet skis down on the north end somewhere. And I go out there with the police officer and he's got the decibel reader. Before we even turned the jet ski on, the decibel reader was already sitting at 78. And that was from the wind, the people on the beach, the ocean. By the time you crank the jet ski up and put it on full throttle, it went up 9 to 87. So the ocean, the people on the ocean wipes out a lot of that noise on the ocean. I mean, that's, like I said, you're sitting at an 87 decibel reading with just the wind blowing and people in the ocean whenever you're out on the ocean front.
Okay, does anybody else have any more questions about this? Those who weren't here last time, I know you have a lot of catching up to do, so, but those who were here, do you have questions especially? So we need to move on. No? I love crickets. Okay. So let's review anything, any questions, tidy it all up, and let's move on. No more questions.
I just have one.
Yes.
It's back to
Yes,
the third
Austin.
row though.
It's back to what?
The third row.
Third row, okay.
I know you provided a tree survey, but on, yes, this image, those tree canopies, I'm assuming that's what that is?
Yes, these gray circles would represent
And,
existing.
to your right, yeah, right there,
These are all existing tree canopies.
and those won't be affected
No,
by the construction of the amenity center?
no, sir.
They may be trimmed up a little
Trimmed
bit,
up, yeah.
but that would be within ANSI standards.
Yeah,
That would be,
yeah.
and would not be considered tree removal. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
anything else, Austin? Okay. Betty Ann, what questions do you have to
I just-
tidy all this up?
Okay, I just need a little clarification on the setback. There was a request for a 50% reduction in the 10-foot to 5 feet. Where did we land on that? Did we change that?
We never really, I think that went away in the current
Did.
proposal.
Okay,
So
It's-
that's a
It remains
non-issue.
10, it remains 10.
okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
that went away. And frankly, we didn't need it, but it was just something somebody wanted, so.
Okay.
So the setbacks remain uniform across the 21st Avenue PUD.
That's good, that's good. Thank you.
Danielle, what questions?
I have no questions. Ken answered.
Sharon,
No, fine.
under fire, Joe? You wonder why you're here? Zeb,
Fine.
all your, Paul? Okay, so we want to address, we're going to come back to the question that, of time. So let's discuss time. 5 years with a 5-year extension. Who's comfortable with that? And let's back up from there. And what can you propose if you want to propose something?
Well, I need to ask a question, if they started this, how long would it take for them to build it?
You know, I think a reasonable timeline would be maybe 3 years with a 3-year extension.
It'd take 3 years to build that?
It's, I mean, you know,
That
apparently,
is a big facility.
construction schedules don't matter anyway. Yeah, I mean, at least that's the position we've taken up to
The other
this
thing,
point.
it never got built.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so.
After 25 years.
I don't know why it really matters. I think maybe we ought to be looking at future PUDs, having some kind of deadline where it reverts back to the original zoning if it's not built within a certain period of time.
We're gonna talk about PUDs at our next meeting.
Yeah, but,
Okay,
I mean, for purposes of getting through this, I just don't know if it really matters that much.
Well, we want to enhance second and third year road development, so then we need to move forward on it. Because isn't that the whole point of this?
I mean, we'd like to see it built. Whether it gets built now or it gets built 5 years from now, it's still gonna be better than what's there now.
Well, the purpose of us looking at it is they had a imminent desire to build it.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at, if you're doing 6 years, and what we're actually doing is, we're not gonna see any improvement possibly, but we're gonna give them an amendment on something that it may never take place.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is the amendment entitles them to do something better than what's there now. And they can't really do anything else than what's already in there before the amendment. So all the amendment does is it gives a possible interim use that is better than, better than the status quo, and would go away if they ever decided to go with the original plan.
And this has a lot better chance of being built, in my opinion, than the original.
At least in the near future.
And, yeah.
And I mean, it's just it's accessory use. I mean, we're not really giving them something that, any major thing. We're just clarify that they can put pickleball courts there. And the land plan we like.
Can I take a shot at this time? Greg, what you're sitting here, on this thing you're saying is you're giving 5 years to be completed and an additional 5 years, but basically what you're saying that if the PUD is not completed within that 10 years total, that the interim PUD lanes will fall away and revert back to the original PUD.
That's what it says.
Could we go with a 2-year and 10-year?
2 and 10?
2.5 years, go 2.5 years to have the improvements in the pickleball court, and then have within 10 years, the intermittent language falls away?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I mean, how does that change anything?
That goes back to what y'all were, it's kind of, go ahead. You talked one way a minute ago.
I know.
And then you sit right here and you kind of.
He's an attorney.
And
That's what he gets paid the big
kind of
bucks
flipped
for
another.
at
So
this table.
the way I'm looking at that is that, let's say 10 years from now, they still hadn't built that second road, or they still haven't built the high rise, and the pickleball courts are still in existence, okay? That 10-year mark, he will have to come back before this board. And he'd have to either come back before this board to ask for another extension of time to allow the pickleball courts to continue, or he's stopping them altogether at 10 years. That's the advantage I see in that, that gets him back before that has this project completed within 2.5 years, and that includes not just the pickleball courts, but all the public improvements. And that's what may take the most time, is the sidewalks and the parking spaces. It's going to take you more time than the actual the racket courts. But then if you come back in there and say, this intermittent use is good for 10 years, upon which time it falls off, that gives him the option as the owner to come back at the end of that 10 years and either ask for a 5-year extension, or it's going to fall off and it's got to go away.
But after if he builds it within the 2.5 years, and then 10 years goes by, does that mean that it becomes non-conforming, the pickleball courts?
If he doesn't come back before this board to get that time frame extended.
It becomes non-conforming.
Or, I mean, it could be that it falls away, yeah.
As the owner's rep, I'm going to say that's a legal slippery slope that I don't know if I want to agree to.
What part?
The part about in 10 years, he has to come back and re-up for the use.
Well, it says, but
that's a lot of money for him to invest, not only for the pickleball club and the swimming pool and all those courts, but all the public improvements which the city gains by right, no matter what happens to that property. That's insane. I would never agree to that.
I'm just reading your own language, man. Your own language says the interim PUD is not complete, then the interim PUD lanes will fall away and will revert back to the original PUD.
Yeah, but if it's not complete, what I thought I heard you say, and I apologize if I misheard you, I heard you say he builds the thing, and in 10 years he has to come back and re-up because that's the only way he can keep it running. That's what I thought I heard you say, but I could be wrong. If that's the case, then I apologize, but that's what I thought I just heard you say.
That was my point, Ken, is that I think what his original language said was they have 5 years to build it, but then if they don't build it in 5 years, they really got 5 more years to build it.
Exactly, that's what I've read.
That's what it says.
I'm
I'm fine with shortening that because that's reasonable, but let's all think about this in context. Anybody that's been around the beach here and watched some of these rather large, let's say oceanfront residences be built, they take a while. That clubhouse is very complex. That's just not a little tiny shell building.
What if we go with the 2.5-year construction, and you have, if you're under construction for 2.5 years, you get 2.5 years extension?
I think that's a reasonable
So
request.
I would agree, because that 10 years, this 2.5.
I think that works great.
I mean,
5 years, we'll know whether it's going to be viable or not.
Exactly.
It's for your client.
There you go.
That's what he wants. He wants a world-renowned pickleball court destination. So the pickleball court should be in his best interest if that's the way he's going to market his property.
Absolutely. I think the 2.5 year and,
2.5 and 2.5?
yes, ma'am.
2.5.
I think that's absolutely
All
fair.
you gotta do is just change 5 to a 2.5.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Just
fair.
make sure you put that in your motion,
Okay,
if you decide to approve.
if we do. So, enhanced landscaping, I think somebody, or many of us brought that up on several areas, so we need as much generous landscaping as possible to make this what your client's dream is, to be a worldwide destination.
Can I also just say as an assurance that this has to go to the community appearance board, and they're not gonna let it fly unless it looks great.
Well, that's actually gonna be my question is that can we, I just wanna make sure whatever we approve or whatever we recommend approval to and the city council approves, that there is the ability for, community appearance board to step in and say, hey, we wanna see more landscaping in the public rights of way. So how do we accomplish that, Ken?
That doesn't have control of the right of way.
I mean,
But the site,
That
but,
would be an encroachment.
yeah, but the site plan, I mean, well, they're already encroaching because they're building city parking spaces in the
Yeah,
right
but
of
we're
way.
talking about landscaping.
landscaping is viewed a whole different,
I
again,
thought
that's
it
what
was
I
already
said,
in
that
there.
would have to be a discussion with the Public Works Department
Yeah, because,
and with the Parks and Recreation
The board
Department
needs to ask us to have landscaping out in the right of way.
in
which is
regard to that,
encroachment, then we have
because
to get insurance policy.
But they can put trees in the right of way without having to go to, but they can't do anything else.
yes, because trees, the maintenance of trees is nothing compared to the maintenance of bushes, flowers, seasonal plantings, and things along those lines. And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to a numbers game as far as streets that the departments have to upkeep. And it just comes down to a numbers game on that.
This would, let me ask the final question from my point of view. This would never be a tournament destination.
That's correct.
I mean, if this is considered public, public benefit, is that they landscape those rights of way. I mean, we've seen that before in some of these pubs.
That's a common
Yeah, I mean-
request.
We've seen that whenever it is like on, mainly like on like beach accesses that are running adjacent to their property, and there's a maintenance agreement put in place, again, which involves 2 other departments, Public Works and Parks and Rec. That's why it's kind of hard for us as a planning and zoning department to say, okay, because we've got to get sign off from 2 other departments, because they're the ones that are in charge of the maintenance aspects and everything along those lines. I guess the question that I've got for Greg on this, we've seen them all before. I don't think what you're showing there is a trumped up plan of bells and whistles. I think what you're showing right there is a reality-based landscape plan that you know everything you're showing right there can fit in that position as it currently is.
That's an accurate statement, and look, the company that hired us to be their consultant, hired us because of our reputation, because we're gonna do something that's real world, that can be approvable, that can be built. We're not putting any flash in here just to get it through the planning commission, just to get it through the city council hoops. This is based on absolute reality. To get back to the comment just a moment ago, if you would indulge me with the landscaping and the public right-of-ways, we deal with projects all day long in the city of Myrtle Beach and up beyond. And we rarely have a client that'll go that extra mile to put the landscaping in the public right-of-way, because they have to carry insurance for the perpetuity of that project. So if something happens, God forbid, somebody runs someone over or trips on a shrub in a public right-of-way, the city doesn't get sued. I think it's just a setup long-term to do it that way. Now, we're already showing, frankly, landscaping right along the public right-of-way here. We've got all the requisite street trees and landscape grass in the public right-of-ways. I think you're going to be set up quite attractively the way it is shown. But that's just my two cents.
Best looking 3rd row area in and around the boulevard.
Okay. Any other questions? I need to move on because this is a public hearing and you can see that we have a full house today. So, any other questions for Mr. Duckworth? Let's wrap it up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Duckworth. Okay, once again, this is a public hearing item. I'm going to ask if anybody from the public would like to address this item. I don't see anyone that would like to address this item, so I'm going to officially close the public hearing. Thank you. When we come back to this, the staff has noted that this, we have findings, we need to review a couple things for Joe. Findings of fact are required, and you can find that on page 22. Also, this does, if you don't think this applies in this case, you need to think about it. But otherwise, if anybody wants to move ahead with a motion, I would certainly like to hear it unless you have a couple more questions from the staff or from Mr. Duckworth. Anybody? Okay. Ample opportunity. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how about a motion, please?
I move that we approve with the amendment that the construction schedule be 2.5 and 2.5. Commence in 2.5 years and be completed in 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Zeb. I have a motion with the thoughts of 2.5 years and 2.5 years, and I have a second from Austin. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Duckworth.
You're welcome.
Okay. Back to you, Taisha. We have anything coming down the road for presentation of new applications next time around?
We have a few things through the door for presentation. For the good thing, the beach management plan, we got reviews back from the state, so we are currently editing those reviews, and then we should be sending them back and getting an approval.
Oh, wow.
So that will be coming.
Well, that's
hopefully
nice
soon.
to hear. Thank you for that update. I heard this wonderful thought about what a great job about the public engagement that the staff, Kelly and you and Caitlin, with the public engagement. Would you like to comment, or Kelly or Caitlin? Because I understand we had a 1,300, well, I'll let you tell.
Yes, for the population element of the comprehensive plan, we had created a community survey that we submitted it to anyone who would like to take it. We also did 7 public engagement sessions at Market Common, at the military parade. We did 2 at the Pelicans game. We did First Friday Art Walk, and our last one was at Train Depot. And in total, we got a little bit over 1,300 people taking the survey.
Good job. And I understand that Caitlin and Kelly went after this on a very, yes, they were very instrumental in doing this. Thank you.
Yes.
I heard the rumor around that you did a great job. Thank you very much to both of you. Thank you, Taisha, for reporting. Okay, communications from the Planning Commission. Anything?
Now that we've got our new member, Joe, could we get an updated contact information sheet on the
Yes.
Planning Commission? It's probably in the works.
Okay. And can we also get, I'm glad you're asking for that, can we also get the state-owned, I used to have this, the state-owned and city-owned streets? Because people have been asking me about certain streets. So there is, if you all don't have that, it's time that everybody got one of those again. So if you could do that, I appreciate it. Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, then
Motion to adjourn?
have a motion to adjourn from Austin, a second from Paul. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Or we have here.